Well, good day and welcome to you. It is September the 5th, and I hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you happen to be. My name is Gary Willing. I want to welcome you to Search for Signs if you're new. Welcome you back if you've been here before. And as always, just encourage anybody who's interested in knowing more about this information to look into the websites that I provided links for in the description portion of these videos. Those websites, I think, give wonderful background information about Maitreya, about the Masters of Wisdom, why they're here, about the priorities of the teacher, and so forth. So check it out for yourself if you want, but I think that's the best way to see if there's any truth to it, is to really educate yourself better about this information. All right, now, I want to thank Spirit Watcher 178 and for commenting and then promptly taking their comments down. And then I want to also thank Jose Gonzalez Jr. for posting what he usually does as a comment of being totally against what I have to talk about. But be that as it may, Jose, if you're listening, I doubt you are, but if you are, I'm glad you commented. You know, it's been a few months since you commented the last time, I think, but like I always say, stay as long as you want, come and go as you please. You're always welcome to come back and comment. But I hope you're well. I've thought about you from time to time and hope you and your family are doing well. And like I hope everybody's family is doing well. All right, now, Spirit Watcher 178, hopefully I'm not violating any kind of trust by reading some of your comments. I don't have all of them available because I'm only able to read some of your comments because I got email notifications that you had commented. And the weird thing is it's never 100%. It's always like 80% of the time I'll get an email notification about a comment and then I have it saved forever. So if somebody deletes that comment on my YouTube channel, I still can read it on my email. So the first comment that you commented, I did not get an email confirmation and then you took it down. So I only remember kind of what you were talking about. So we'll talk about it a little bit because I did think it was actually, you know, good questions that you were asking for one thing. But in terms of the comment where you wanted to possibly, you know, get together and talk one-on-one because you didn't want to just keep posting them in the comment section. And this goes for anybody. If you want to get a hold of me that way, and not make it so public through comments like most people do, email me, searchforsigns@mail.com. People do that from time to time. And we'll either email back and forth that way, and it's a little bit more, you know, private on what you're wanting to ask me or whatever. But I have from time to time talked to people on the phone. Even some of the people who are very much against what I talk about, and their comments were, not all the time, but some of them were kind of aggressive toward me. When I talked to him on the phone, we didn't have a contentious conversation on the phone. It was quite extraordinary. And I'm always moved by comments, by questions, you know, so you'll never overwhelm me with too many questions. I can guarantee you that, because that shows that you're interested in this information, you know, try to overwhelm me with questions. I might not be able to put them all in one video. I might have to split it up, but I don't mind trying to answer as many questions as you have, because I know when I first heard this information, I sure as heck had a lot of questions to ask. Thought the same thing as you did. Didn't want to overwhelm Ben with all my questions, so I refrained from asking him every question. But ironically, Ben even said at the beginning of every one of his books, he always gave love and gratitude to his master and for taking the time to answer all his many questions. So he even had a lot of questions to ask. But so yeah, if you want to talk to me that way, you can email me and then we can see where it goes from there. But anyway, so the one comment I wanted to talk about first. Hi again, I removed my last comment because it wasn't worded right, having serious autocorrect issues. I really do have a lot of respect for you, never backing down from questions, not hiding, period, and I love it. So many on YouTube do just that, hide. I'm assuming you have done some research on me because I would have if I were you. Let me stop right there. No, I have not done any research on you or anybody else that has commented on my channel. So anyway, I pretty much just take it as it is. Now, in terms of not hiding, you know, it does my heart glad to hear you say that, because I put my name out there in the way that I do. And to be honest with you, it's against my family's wishes. I know my mother's very concerned about me doing that. And, you know, I don't mind people being kind of threatening in their comments toward me from time to time. It's not all the time, but, you know, from time to time. But I sure as heck don't want to meet them on my doorstep when I'm trying to get to my car, you know. But I put my name out there. and that's always a possibility. There's a lot of very unhinged and very unstable and frankly quite mentally ill people out there. And when you're talking about something as triggering as the return of the Christ, and it's different than what they believe, you know what I'm saying? It's very concerning to my wife and my mom especially. But I put my name out there because I'm hoping and I'm trusting that it won't be like that, and that I won't have to regret putting my name out there like that. But I do it because if I was somebody who was hearing this information for the first time, and I was listening to it from somebody who wasn't using their real name, I would turn it off immediately and say, they don't, they're hiding something, like you said, you know what I mean? So I'm putting my name out there because I have nothing to hide. I have no proof to offer you. I have no authority to speak from. So you can listen to me and you can believe me just based off of that, So that's why I did it like that. So to hear you say that, actually, or to read you say that to me thank you for that. I really do appreciate that. And it means a lot. I have so many questions. Like I said, don't want to overwhelm me. Overwhelm me if you dare. So you and anybody else, ask as many questions as you want. All of this you're talking about, I've done extensive research on this since 2010. So I'm aware of a few things. This declaration of Maitreya and your Jesus that lives in London, you're saying soon, and I believe you. Will it be on or around September 11, 22? No, which is just a few days away. And I'm going to explain why in just a second. But also, I want to swing back around. Why is he my Jesus? You don't have to believe what I'm saying about the Master Jesus, but he's not my Jesus. He's a Jesus for the whole world, actually. So Jesus is for the whole world, just as all these masters are for the whole world, and Maitreya. They're here for us. Jesus is not just for the Christians, has never just been for the Christians. He's been for the whole world, just as Maitreya is just for the whole world. They don't believe in ideologies. They don't side with an ideology. We do. As Ben's master said, ideologies divide. They don't divide. You'll see from Maitreya, when you see him out, known for who he is, someone who can go from, he can talk to an extreme right-winger as he can talk to extreme left-winger. And he can talk to a Christian, a Muslim, or whatever. He said those terms, like even the names that we have for the awaited teacher, the Christ, Imam Mahdi, Kalki Avatar, Messiah, world teacher, those are terms that he says create nothing but confusion within the minds of people. That's why he only wants to be referred to as the teacher. That's what he prefers to be known as. But is he the awaited teacher for these religions? Yes, that's who they were talking about in their text, was Maitreya. But anyway, the day of declaration is the day that he will finally declare himself as Maitreya. But the thing of it is, for one thing, it's going to take a lot of changes on humanity's part before I think that can happen, and it's going to take a lot longer than 6 days. So the thing about, it's going to take humanity waking up to the fact that we are doing what we're doing to some degree. Maybe not everybody, but a larger number of people. Because we will have to demand from, according to Ben's master, we are going to be the ones that do it. We are going to demand from our news media him an opportunity to speak. It will be like us telling the news media and the politicians, I don't want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what he has to say. Give him an opportunity to speak. That's basically it and how we're going to do it. And we'll force them to do it because they're our representatives. As corrupt as they are, as opinionated as they are, as much as they speak about narratives and everything like this, and they have their own agendas, they are our representatives, like them or leave them. And we will force them to allow him to speak. And according to Ben's master, the communication satellites that are in space right now are here and are in place for this very event. That's how important it is for the future of humanity. So the inventors that put them up there and the corporations that paid the money to put them up there were thinking nothing of their profit, but really who was inspiring them to do it were these masters. So, anywho, but on that day, we will look back, historically, we'll look back at that day as a day that we took a huge step back from the abyss, really, to be honest. But like I said, it's going to take a little bit longer than 6 days. Now, in terms of the soon aspect of it, I saw Maitreya in I almost said Nairobi, in Marietta, Georgia, when I was a part of a peace rally there. and I was walking to my car, and he was speaking to me, and there was nobody else around. But the one thing that he said a lot of things to me, but the one thing that he said to me that's kind of appropriate for this discussion about the Day of Declaration and him being on TV and people seeing him, is he said, "You're going to see me on TV real soon, and we're going to change the world together." Now, he wasn't just saying it for me. He was saying it because he knew that I would be telling other people about it. So I'm telling you what he said. He said, "You'll see him on TV real soon, and we're going to change the world together." So, but soon for him is not soon for me. It's been 12 years or 13 years or so since he said it, to me. So from my perspective, that's not very soon. But his perspective, that's just a few days, really. These masters don't see time the same way that we see time. And from Maitreya's perspective, he's been a master for millions of years. So what's 50 years? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? So I always jokingly say, if Maitreya ever asks you for money and says he'll pay you back soon, well, it's not going to be next week by payday. I'm kidding. No, anyway. It's important to look at and keep this into perspective when it comes to this information in terms of the time frame of things. But he's already out on TV, so the moment that you see him and recognize him could be next week. I don't know. I haven't seen him on TV and recognized him on TV yet. I had a suspect or two, but I don't know if I ruled him out, but I haven't really thought that any more about it, to be honest with you, so I don't think that was him. But maybe, I'll recognize him when I recognize him too, just like everybody else. But according to Maitreya, it's soon. Anyway, do I also think that it's going to be, decades from now? No, I think it's going to be just a few years probably before there's enough going on in the world that we see that we have to change our ways. And that will be enough for Maitreya to start and come out and speak to all of humanity in that way. It's going to take that, I think. But I do think if we were, all the plans that we have for ourselves, for, 5 years, 10 years from now, right? We're looking into the future. I'm 50 years old, so I'm like, okay, 10 years from now, I'll be 60. My daughter will have already graduated college, this going on, blah, 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 blah. I have those kind of plans in mind in my head. They might not materialize the way that I'm visualizing it because of this information happening, you know what I mean, in the way that it's happening. So I think it will shock us how soon it is, even from our perspective, even though it's not going to be next week. I don't know if that makes any sense the way I explained it, but that's the best I can do. But be patient. Hopefully don't just wait and do nothing about it. Pick one of the priorities that moves you the most, whether it's the need for peace, the need to end hunger, the need for justice, the need to save our environment, and do something about it. And then you'll be so occupied in doing, and helping the planet and helping others that you'll forget all about time, and how long it's taking for Maitreya to come out. But anyway, I did want to kind of address one of the other ones you said. I was curious if you've ever heard of psychic warriors. No, but I think I have an idea what you're talking about. If that is true in terms of people being able to do what you're saying, I know that the Russians for a time were working on telekinesis and warfare and so forth, and I'm sure the United States was doing it and other NATO countries and so forth. As Krishnamurti said, we've mastered death. We've made it an art form, violence. We're living in a very barbaric age amongst barbarians. Those barbarians might have suits and no dirt underneath their fingernails like they did ages ago, but they have blood on their hands, at least symbolically. But they use missiles instead of swords, you know what I mean? But they're barbarians nonetheless. And we're living in a barbarian age, for sure. But it's ending. The barbarian age is ending. And it will truly end, or at least we'll start the beginning of the end of it when we accept the principle of sharing. That's when love will truly start to manifest on this planet. And more and more and more, as the more we share, the more we'll do that. It will start to manifest love. And then we'll put war behind us forever. But it starts with that. That's the only way to do it. the reason why Maitreya says without sharing there could be no justice, without justice there could be no peace, without peace there could be no future. It starts with sharing. So anyway, and then you went on to say, where is it? So my question to you is, how do you know you're not being manipulated by someone who has these psychic abilities? What's manipulating me? You know what I mean? I've had experiences with Maitreya that were quite real. I've had experiences with Maitreya when I wasn't even around. So, for instance, the experiences that I had with Maitreya that you can hear about on my channel, that are some of them are quite extraordinary. But the one that actually I think is the most extraordinary was the one that the time that I never saw him, but it was because I directly asked him for help. And then he came to help me on my job when I wasn't even there, and somebody else saw him that doesn't know anything about Maitreya. And let me explain, if you didn't hear the video, is I used to clean a building that was semi-secure because it was a government building on an airport. The governor, his planes were there and those kind of things. I mean, it wasn't super max secure, but it was pretty secure. And they didn't have armed guards, but you couldn't just waltz in there. And I was feeling overwhelmed. Talk about feeling overwhelmed. It wasn't by questions, but it was because I was working so hard, and I was working from sun up to wee hours of the morning, and then I had to get back up again and do it and that kind of thing. And I asked Maitreya to help me I said, all I wanted is somebody to help me with the trash in this one side of the building. And he did just what I asked him to do. He got the trash out of that side of the building for a week. And there was a woman named Carol who saw him and didn't tell me at the time, because she thought he was just working with me. It wasn't until like a month or a few weeks later that she saw me in the hallway going to the bathroom, and just made a random comment like, hey, make sure you don't lock the door. Sure, no problem, because she wouldn't have been able to get back into her side of the building that was locked. It was always locked. And then she said, make sure you tell your associate not to lock the door too. And I was like, what are you talking about? Who are you talking about? She goes, the gentleman that helps you out from time to time with the trash. She was talking about Maitreya. I never saw him, but I did notice for the week that she was talking about, I had no trash at that side of the building. So quite extraordinary. But not there, in terms of psychic attack, or what did you say? Manipulated by someone who has these psychic abilities. I present this information for everyone to look at for themselves. It's up to you to do with it what you want to do with it. I'm not sitting here putting these videos up to create a new ideology for you to follow. Okay? So the only thing that I'm concerned about with this information, and I quoted The Matrix with this, is something that the Oracle said in the movie The Matrix. She said, I'm only concerned about the future, and I know that the only way to get there is together. That's my one thing about this information that I'm trying to get across to everybody, is we need to focus on our future. I don't care about your ideology. I don't care about what people think about aliens or what their interpretation of why they're here. I don't care about what their interpretation of who and what Jesus was. I don't care about any of that stuff. Now, when I present this information, I'm presenting it because I believe this to be true, but you can do with it whatever you want to do with it. I'm not trying to create a cult like I've been accused of from time to time. I don't ask for money. I don't ask for donations. I don't ask for anything like that. So what am I doing here? I'm only concerned about the future of humanity. I do think that the only thing that we can really do as a people is inspire our world leaders to do something about the need to create peace, the need to solve our environmental problem. I think that, and I agree with Maitreya, and I want for what Maitreya is saying he wants. I want us to start to share the resources of the world. Why not? They're just sitting there doing nothing. We did it at one time right after World War II, and it did bring about peace amongst the nations that did it. Why not try to do it globally? But our world leaders don't care about any of that stuff. They only care about themselves and their corporate donors. They don't even care about us. Most Democrat, I live in the United States. Most of the Democratic leadership and the Republican leadership, if they were walking down the street and I set myself on fire, wouldn't grab a glass of water to try to put me out. They don't care about us. They only care about themselves, both sides. That's why it floors me when people have such they're so enamored by somebody like Trump. It's one thing if you didn't trust him and you didn't trust Biden. I could get that. You know what I'm saying? They both have lied. You know what I mean? I think Trump lied more than Biden. But hey, if you got the proof to offer that Biden has lied as much as Trump has, then show it to me. If Hillary Clinton is committed crimes, she should be prosecuted too, just like they're trying to prosecute Donald Trump for. It's not a political witch hunt. It's because he's committed crimes, right? Now, in terms of your other question about, and this kind of ties into September 11th, right? You're asking about why are Christians persecuted? Where are you talking about them being persecuted? Here in the United States? Because they're not being persecuted here in the United States. There are people who make fun of Christians, just like there are people who make fun of people who are homosexual. There are homosexuals that make fun of straight people. I mean, it's like, there are people who criticize certain groups, and that group turn around and criticize them. I mean, but there's nobody being killed off as a group of people because they're a Christian. There's hate crimes toward African Americans. There's hate crimes toward, other minorities and so forth, and vice versa, and all that kind of stuff. But, Christians as a group, at least in this country, aren't being persecuted. Around the world, if they're being persecuted by whatever group is in charge. But to say that the Christians have never persecuted other groups, that's not true either. You got to look at it objectively. Politics objectively, geopolitics objectively, religion objectively, spirituality objectively, and look at it objectively and not take it so personally. And then you can really see that this stuff's been going on, but looking at September 11th, for instance, classic example, and this is what's going to happen on September 11th, 2022. I can guarantee you at least this is going to happen, is they're going to have all these video clips of what happened 21 years ago. Talk about how the world has changed since then, what's been going on since then. And they will keep doing this and keep trying to relive this moment. Never forget, like they say, right? Until we learn to let this shit go. You know what I'm saying? But right after September 11th, the United States had the sympathy in the entire world. If it had been anybody else but George W. Bush, who was such a war hawk, we might have actually had that time to come together as a people that we never could have had before or since. And we squandered that opportunity and we attacked two innocent countries. And we did it because we thought we were the victim. They put out that the United States was the one that was attacked. We need to go attack them. 3,000 plus people died on September 11th in the Twin Towers, on the plane, and the Pentagon. We have since then killed over 1 million people in Iraq, and God knows how many people in Afghanistan. And where is everybody's bleeding heart about those deaths? Where's the media? Why aren't they talking about that? They don't. On both sides. Why aren't Republicans and Democrats, or Democrats and Republicans, why isn't anybody on either side of the aisle talking about that injustice and that crime? Because they are just as guilty of it as the Republican regime that put it into place, because they voted on it. Biden voted for us to go into the war in Iraq. Some of the most left-wing Democrat liberal senators and representatives voted for us to go into Iraq. In the same way, they're just as guilty as those who perpetrated the plan, because they voted for us to be able to go in there. But we did it because they thought they were putting out there the illusion that we are the victim, that we are going to be prosecuted. And the one thing that Ben's master said that I thought was just so astoundingly astute right after September 11th is, he said, people in the United States feel like the entire world is out to get them. And he said it's psychologically, he goes, and he posed it as a question for us to think about, but it's true. What he was saying. He goes, it's almost like we believe we deserve it. Christians have persecuted other groups for ages. They've done it. I mean, the Crusades is a classic example. The Salem witch hunt, the Spanish Inquisition. I mean, there's and even recently with the war in Iraq, it was done. The president at that time, George W. Bush, believed that Jesus and God were inspiring him to attack these countries. And they killed millions of people in the name of Jesus. And it's insane. It's a crime. but yet they go around thinking that they're the persecuted ones, they're the victims. Well, I mean, from one perspective, you could say that they're the aggressor. So that's just my 2 cents on it, but you asked the question. So anyway, hopefully that answered your question, but like I said, if you have more questions, Spirit Watcher 178, everybody else, post your questions in the comment section or email me at searchforsigns@mail.com. Hope you guys
Remember
have a great
to
day.
take action.
Thanks for the questions.
And
Take
help
care.
SOP save our planet. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to talking to you again in future videos.